Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. The EV battery industry is going to be enormous. Batteries are by far the most expensive component of an EV, and if we're going to see 40 million EV sales a year, then if each battery pack costs even only $5,000, then that is $200 billion a year. Of course, they generally cost closer to twice that today. And we may eventually see more than 40 million EV sales a year, possibly as early as 2025, but on top of that, we have the whole energy storage side of the business too, which will likely be equally as big. In other words, the world is going to make a lot of batteries. There will be a huge market for batteries, and plenty of R&D for all sorts of batteries will come into fruition. However, my concern is that possibly patents could be what holds back innovation within batteries. I believe the entire corporate world and governments could agree that there should be no patents on any battery technology. It must grow as efficient and fast as possible. If what governments and scientists are telling us, and climate change is real, then shouldn't they be taking this more seriously? I think it should be treated like a war against climate change. During World War II, the English didn't stop innovating fighter planes because France had a patent on a certain propeller type, did they? If governments really think climate change is real and is potentially as bad as they claim, then they need to go all in. And innovation and creative destruction will create the most leverage. Batteries are the most important technology right now in the fight for climate change. The fastest any industry can evolve is with as little regulation as possible. This includes copyrights and patents, along with legislation. To give you an idea, technology is the least regulated industry, and look how fast the technology industry has evolved as a result, when compared to finance and healthcare as the most regulated. Because technology is not so regulated, it gives a global even playing field. Anyone in the world can work for anyone who offers the correct skill set. You can outsource to India, for example, and hire a programmer for a fraction of the cost when compared to the US. And I love the fact this is possible. It decentralizes global wealth and reduces inequality. But remember, the famous economist Joseph Schumpeter, who came up with the concept of creative destruction. These monopolies are so strong, through regulation, competition must circumvent them with total disruption. That is what creative destruction is. The medical industry is soon facing creative destruction, with the likes of genetics and neural net in healthcare, as is Bitcoin in the finance industry. The health industry is busy researching the next wonder drug or new machines, and will require years of testing and experiments that may eventually save some people's lives. Genetics can just remove a certain gene that was responsible for an illness. I mean, put it like this. Imagine if you created a new machine that was so good it would replace thousands of doctors' jobs. Are doctors really going to encourage that innovation? The problem is that some new entrepreneur creates a new business in a new industry, and it's very successful and makes lots of money. Said entrepreneur becomes a billionaire, and he loves being a billionaire. He doesn't want to stop being a billionaire or risk losing it. He identifies various threats that could wipe him out. He hires lobbyists to explain to lawmakers how bad these threats could be for the economy. They will cost lots of jobs, and the lobbyists have plenty of techniques of persuasion. Then the company compiles together legislation and then do what they can to get it passed into law. The billionaire then has what is known as a moat. This is known as cronyism and suppresses innovation, which holds back our standard of living. These are the kind of companies Warren Buffett likes to invest in, companies with moats. As he's mentioned many times before, they're protected, although this is not what protectionism means. That is protecting a nation from foreign competition. Being a billionaire is something they've identified as. They don't want to lose their identity. They say the only thing worse than being poor is being poor once you've been rich. In the GFC, one of the richest men in Europe, Adolf Merkel, lost billions of euros. He was actually on the opposite side of the short squeeze of Volkswagen too, I believe. He was so upset that he threw himself in front of a train, despite still being worth something like 10 billion. Billionaires really don't like losing money. Anyway, if batteries had no patents, then every company can contribute to evolving the technology, adding their unique part to it. For example, LFP batteries currently have a patent in China that doesn't expire until next year. I'm worried there may be some similar patent with some other breakthroughs, perhaps sodium-ion battery technology or solid state. It would be a huge blow to the industry if these technologies were monopolized by just one company, and would dramatically halt growth. Tesla creates open patents for this reason, to help the progress of sustainable energy. As Elon continually says, it's not our intention to create a walled garden, aka a moat. And Elon has been vocal how he is not a fan of moats, referring to Warren Buffett. Of course, you might argue that it's less incentive for these companies to be motivated without such a barrier to entry protecting their intellectual property. But in reality, the company that usually creates the product gains the associated brand with it too. For example, there's plenty of generic pharmaceuticals that cost less money, but people still buy the brand name ones. There is still a lead time the innovating company has as first mover advantage. Whilst the competitors are reverse engineering and testing, they can use that time to secure the contracts they need before anyone else has reached the market. Therefore, removing patents should not disrupt innovation. This is why we need a free market economy for battery technology, especially in these modern times when we're so capable of so many great things. Anything that stimulates and motivates innovation is what is best for improved standard of living for humanity. This is why America is such a breeding ground of innovation. The entire country is set up around the American dream. There are schools and universities set up for it, the best in the world. I don't mean America as a country has the best education system. I mean the best education in the world is in America. Same for healthcare. The best doctors, equipment and drugs are all in America. US citizens also spend more on healthcare per capita than any other country, and by a significant amount too, which goes back to all the regulation. Then in America, if you have a business idea, you can find an angel investor and get a proof of concept and another round of funding. Then if you're a real big hit, you can get a Series A funding from a venture capitalist company until one day you hopefully still retain 10 to 20% ownership of your company and you can finally take it public. Then you have all the money ever required to grow your business as big as you dreamt. If climate change is real and we have a clock counting down, then nothing can move the save the world industry faster than a pure free market. I'm not even saying government shouldn't get involved. They should tax fossil fuels and use them to subsidize renewables to further encourage the industry. But the government should stay out of any regulation, just like we're seeing with NHTSA trying to hold back Tesla's FSD, which could now potentially hold back Tesla's FSD and prolong this actual life-saving technology. America encourages individualism, like artists, novelists, actors, and movie makers, but also entrepreneurs. This is also why Warren Buffett loves to invest in US companies and says they have a tailwind. This is a tailwind. But yes, I understand the irony that he also invested in BYD. This is also why Elon Musk moved to America from South Africa. So I believe there is a high chance the best innovation will spawn from the US, but it will be a sacrilege if it's held back by more patents from China. The climate clock is ticking. Batteries are going to be the driving force, at least once chip shortages are sorted, which in the long run they inevitably will, especially when the likes of Samsung's new $17 billion chip plant will be complete in Austin, which will also produce Tesla's FSD chips. The rest of the constraint will be batteries. We need innovation to reduce prices. We need innovation to make them work with elements that are abundant, not scarce. We need innovation to work out how to produce them as fast as possible. And we need innovation to reduce the weight by improving power density. And we need to do it all as quickly as possible. We're talking about all forms of transport here, including aviation and shipping, and of course energy storage too. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.